Good Friday morning, everyone. Brian Perodin, the project specialist. I just want to talk a little bit about on my first YouTube post. I talked about this was going to be project-based, hands-on work type of thing, and then having rentals for 35 years. I also wanted to talk about some of the paperwork and the rental aspect of it, if you want to call it the office end of things. And I mentioned it's Friday morning. I love Friday mornings because I get paid every Friday. And actually, it's the first of the month, so the rent checks are going to be in the mailbox here within the next hour, hour and a half, which is nice. But I get paid every Friday. I'll tell you about that in another video, so watch for that. So this is the first part of before renting, the first steps that I take into consideration. Now I'm going to tell you right up front, I'd love you to hit that like button. I'd love you to hit that subscribe button. I continue on a daily basis now trying to build in new videos along the lines of projects that I work on with my properties, and I'm going to start sharing the office end of things and the administration end of things that I've learned over the last 35 years. I will tell you this, check with your state and local codes on what you can do and what you can't do. And a little bit of that is a gray area to me, simply because I'm the one that owns the property. I'm the one that has to pay the bank every week. I'm the one that's responsible for the other tenants that are in that building. So, politicians can say what they want, but when it comes down to the reality of it, I have to take in all of those things into consideration. I will tell you this. I do not, I am not biased against anyone renting from me, okay? Color, race, creed, any of that stuff, I really don't care. What I care about is two things. Three things I tell my tenants right off the bat. One, are you going to take care of the property? Two, are you going to blend in with the rest of the people in the building? And three, I got to pay the bank every month. I need you to pay me. Those are the three things that really, really concern me. Now, over history, I have learned a couple things to make that easier. And that's going to be another conversation too, but I tell tenants right out, I'm going to, if I have a complaint, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down and talk about that. If I get a second complaint, at that point in time, I'm going to decide whether you're staying or going. And like I said, I'll save that for a whole nother conversation. So, my history. I have a college undergraduate degree actually in business marketing, a emphasis in business public relations, and then I got a master's degree I got 2 master's degrees in education actually. So when I got out of college, I started looking at, I saw, one of the guys was coming to a presentation in Minneapolis on no money down. And so I'm 26-ish years old at that point in time, and I went. And, with any of this stuff, they're out to sell a product. You have to be able to sort through what is actually beneficial to you and what is not beneficial to you. And the one thing that was said to me there was, over 10-year periods of time, you keep looking at it, the price of properties has continued to go up throughout history. And, you know, kind of looking back on it, it made sense to me. I grew up, we were in the ginseng business, which was very labor intensive, and I wanted something that was a little less labor intensive, and actually the real estate fit the bill. Yes, there are times when I'm putting in 12-hour days trying to get a apartment or a duplex brought back up to speed after a tenant moves out. But all in all, and like the other day, I had a 3 o'clock in the morning text that the garage door broke on one of them, and you know, you have to deal with that stuff. But all in all, if you look at compared to farming or compared to a lot of things, it's less labor intensive if you follow these steps out of the gate. And I've seen it too often. What happens? I watch the DIY shows all the time, right? So they fix a property up and they rent it out, okay? Do they take the time to do their homework to get the best possible tenant in that building? Because if you don't do the homework up front, you're going to have a lot of problems down the road, okay? So I look at it this way. Every hour in up front can probably prevent 5 to 20 hours of problems down the road. So I do my homework, all right? First step is when people come to look at a property, I look at their vehicle, all right? If and there's two things here that tells me right away, is if their vehicle is, it can be older, doesn't matter, but if it's, you know, kept up and has been taken care of, I know, one, they're probably not going to have major vehicle breakdowns that all of a sudden they're going to have to fix, and that's going to cost them money, and then I'm not going to get the rent check at the end of the month because they had to get their vehicle running, right? Two, it just tells me if they take good care of their vehicle, they're probably going to take good care of everything else. Lesson my dad taught me. Very good lesson to go by. So that's step one. Another thing you'll learn down the road, I have in my contracts, no smoking in the unit or on the premises, okay? That or on the premises saved my butt back about 2 years ago when a tenant was smoking outside the door and there was a strong wind and the cigarette butt blew underneath into the box sill and they lit the building on fire. It smoldered. I got lucky on that one. But 31 below, I was able to do an eviction. And there have been some other things that led up to that, but we'll talk about that down the road too. So my history, like I said, I went to one of these no money down things, and I bought my first side-by-side duplex. It's the one I have in Rib Mountain, still have it, and I lived in half of it, and I got a roommate. So it cost me nothing for rent the first 3 years after getting out of college, or a house payment, nothing. So that worked out pretty cool. And then I continued to buy duplexes, and I bought a little bit of, I kind of like Gordon Gekko in Wall Street. Don't get emotional, is one of the sayings that he has. And you can't get emotional about, you know, when you buy property. I'm not a Trump fan, I'll tell you that, but I love his book, The Art of the Deal, the title of it, because I kind of found that after I bought a couple properties, it was really cool on how you structured the deal. And my goal is this: I shouldn't have to put any of my personal money into a business investment, okay? I've used collateral from time to time. When I was first starting out, I used my pickup truck that I had as collateral. All kinds of things that, along those lines. And then, paid it down enough and yeah, took that off of there. I'm sorry, I've got a space heater going over here. I'm down in my little office area that I'm putting together with this 4-season room we're doing, or 3-season room. And so the air is hitting me in my eyes and they're watering. So forgive me for that. If you see me wiping my eyes from time to time, that's why it is. I continue to buy properties. So I was teaching. I was actually going to school for a master's degree, and I built it up that I had 14 rentals. And then I got into the building end of it. I built the condo down by one of the golf courses and sold that off. That was not the world's most profitable experience, but we did make money on it. A lot of time and effort into that. So the properties, then I got married. My wife really didn't like dealing with the tenants. So I I sold pretty much everything off except down to the Rib Mountain duplex. And then we had a thing called, yeah, my wife went through some health issues, and I wanted to make sure I took care of everything for her in the future, just in case, I didn't have my job. And I looked at this as early retirement, which is the way it worked out. I was able to retire at 57. Not too many people can say that. So we we started rebuilding the properties. I bought a 8-unit apartment building, a double fourplex here in town, and then I added a side-by-side duplex down in Weston. It's the video that I have with the broken garage door. So 2 years ago, we had 14 units that we were renting out, or 13, I'm sorry. And then in town, my wife's house, the house part, we have rented out to a tenant. And on the other side, she had her barber shop. Well, when she retired, the barber shop kind of became a storage area for us a little bit. Well, some people came to us last December and asked us if they could put their business in there. So we have a, I guess, beauty salon on that side. So as it stands, and we had sold the apartment building in August, the 8-unit. So now we have roughly 6 units that we rent out, okay? And for me, right now, that's all I need. Probably don't even need that. We've done well with it over the years. Nothing super. I mean, I got to do the work yet to an extent on it, but it enables us to take care of our health care and be retired and enjoy a few things and live a modest life where I get up in the morning and figure out what I want to do for the day, and I've already figured out that today is pretty packed with everything, taking care of rental checks and trying to do some wiring up above. I'll do a video on that. And then I've got a guy coming this afternoon to put the drain spouts and gutters on the house and above the entrance of the 4-season room here, so the snow doesn't melt and turn to ice late in the day, and I'll end up killing myself when I walk out the door of the office here. So that kind of brings us up to me where I am. It's been a good run with the real estate, but the thing I learned coming back to is get good tenants right out of the gate. And a lot of people, I hear the horror stories, and they don't take the time to do their homework. You got to take your time to do your homework. And people are afraid. They hear these myths that, oh, I can't do an eviction. Yeah, you can, but you got to follow the letter of the law. You know, you can, and you got to get your documentation in order. And it's a pain in the butt doing evictions. Totally. I've had to take one tenant to court, and that went in my favor, and I didn't see a dime. So that's a video within itself on how to handle tenants that you need to have leave. Okay, so I want good people in my units, and this is why. One bad apple spoils the whole barrel. You get one bad tenant in a 4-plex or an 8-plex, your good renters are going to do what? They're going to move out because they're not going to put up with the crap. Okay? Next thing is that you're not going to get quality people in if you rent to just anyone. Wow, really low helicopter coming in. Sounds like it's right over the top of the place here. They come in, the hospital isn't too far away. I'm looking out the egress window, seeing if I can see anything. Can't. That's okay, it's behind me. Sorry for the distraction. The other thing I look at is on the apartment buildings in particular, okay? Tenants stay to 2 to 3 years. It's kind of a jumping point, usually between that and getting a house, or they're in jobs where they're moving type thing. So every time I have to redo a unit, okay, it runs me over $1,000. So I need to do the homework up front and get people that aren't going to trash the place, because they can do a lot of damage in a real short period of time. And so I have non-smokers, because if you have smokers, I don't care how long they've been in there, 6 months, you got to repaint because you can't get rid of that smell. You got to have the carpets professionally cleaned, which I do. I got a guy I call Jesus, because he's a miracle worker with some of the carpets that tenants have left me. And he's, you know, he's fair in his price. I call him, he takes care of it. And so I've got him nicknamed Jesus. So I'm cleaning carpets. I'm going in and I'm painting. And you know what? That time that I spend having to redo this every 2 years or whatever, and fixing everything up and going through it, and because I didn't take my time up front, that's time I can be doing other improvements. That's money that I can be spending on other improvements within the building to keep it up as appearance-wise, with, you know, how looks and everything are changing, updating, you know, to keep everything nice. And the thing I've found is everybody wants it really nice when they move in. And I've had tenants that just, you know, I had one, they owned 5 vacuum cleaners, never used one of them. Never used one of them. You know, and so it gets to the point where it's getting, you know, dirty. So what do they decide to do? They decide to go rent from some other landlord that's cleaned it up and has it looking nice. Now, I do my best to look out for the safety of my tenants. I do my best to provide not top of the line and not top costing rentals, but middle of the road, good, clean apartments that I would move into, or that I would move a family member into. That's kind of my criteria. Okay? So, I check before I rent to anyone. I check with their bank, okay, and see that they've got the assets to do it. On my application, right or wrong, I haven't put down their monthly income because I know after this many years of doing this, I know the minimum number they have to be able to move in, okay, on a monthly basis. Otherwise, if they're not getting to that monthly basis of income, I know that within 3-4 months they're not going to be able to afford to stay. And actually, I haven't done them a favor by renting them something that they can't stay in, and I haven't done myself or my financial institution a favor by putting people in there that aren't going to be able to stay. Right or wrong, okay? I know that kind of number, and do they, and I look at their work history. Have they been employed with the same company or kind of doing the same thing for a period of time? And does that control everything? And then a little bit of it comes down to the person. But I check their background. I do a thorough background check on them to, see if there are any issues and anything that I should be concerned about, because I have the other tenants to protect also, right or wrong. Like I said, are they smokers? If I see any indication of that they are, they lie to me all the time. They do. Yeah, I smoke, but I'm not going to smoke in the unit. I'll walk up to the corner. Yeah, you're in January in Wisconsin, it's 30 below, you're not walking up to the corner. So don't give me that crap. Okay? So, I look at that. I have no problem with kids. I've got 2 of my 6 units right now. I have kids in them. I have no problem with kids. But are they going to create issues? I kind of look at that a little bit. The background check, complete. Like I said, bank. I do a legal check. I look at the income. We talked about why on that. And I talk to their employer. I talk to the past landlords. Now, this you got to be careful on too, with my 35 years of experience, because I got to the point where people were writing numbers down. This person's Kenny is my landlord, and here's his number. And, lo and behold, Kenny is just a friend, and, they've asked him to kind of cover for them, if you want to put it that way. So I make sure that everything checks out address-wise and everything on Kenny. And I think this is super important too, is I make my non-negotiables clear when I'm walking people through the apartments or the duplex. And I make sure that part I do, because I also want to get a feel for their personality. Are they going to work in this unit? But I make my non-negotiables clear. And it's basically this simple. And I load it up a little bit heavy at the beginning. I can always be the nice guy later. But I want them to know these are non-negotiables. And if you can't meet these things, then you need to go find something else. But one, I am going to come in. I've got a time designated in the contract, 5 to 8 p.m. the first Monday of the month, where I can come in and do an inspection, take care of what needs to be done, change air filters, change batteries on the smoke detectors, whatever, just to walk through, and to make sure, and it gives them time to say, hey, this isn't working quite right. Can you look into this? We got a leak on this faucet. It gives them a time to share with me too. I think it's important that your tenants know you. They see you around there. They see you working. They see your effort. Otherwise, why should they care if you don't care? Okay? So, that's a non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable is, like I said, I have one complaint against you. I'm going to listen to both sides. I'm going to talk to you about it. It better not happen again. If another complaint comes up, you and I are going to sit down and have a come to Jesus meeting. And at that point in time, we're going to determine whether you're staying or going. And I've had these, okay? For the most part, actually, tenants appreciated that I would take time to sit down and listen to both sides. And my ultimate goal is, a lot of times people don't even know they're doing something that annoys something next to somebody or whatever. My ultimate goal is to have that communication take place and for them to reason it out and work out the issue. Okay? The other issue that like I said before, the bank. Okay? I got to make my payments. You have to pay your rent. And if you're not going to, I'm not made of money. I have that payment to make. You need to, you're going to need to find a different place to go to. And I do a really neat thing with my contract that I'm going to talk about next time around when we get into contracts. So that's my step right out of the bat. And I don't rent to the first person or the second or third. I might, if I get a really good tenant. But I take the time to screen my people. And I can't tell you how vital that is for you, for them, and for your other tenants. Brian Proden, property specialist, and have a good day.